So, are you ready for some serious tech drama? Today, we are diving into a question that has been making the rounds for a while now. Uh, does Google have too much power?
Yeah, it's a question with huge implications, and it's finally coming to a head with these aggressive moves from the U.S. Justice Department.
Exactly. And our source today is this recent global news video that breaks down the Justice Department's case. And, well, let me tell you, it's intense. They're essentially arguing that Google, through its parent company Alphabet, is running a total monopoly on online search, and that's why they're pushing for some pretty extreme measures.
And they're using that word, that monopoly word, very deliberately.
Hmm.
We're talking about a situation where, one company has so much control over a market that it can essentially dictate terms,
Yeah.
stifle competition, and even hurt consumers in the end.
Okay, so that's the accusation, but what's the evidence? The Justice Department isn't just throwing this term around lightly, right?
Definitely not. They've been building this case for a while now, and they're pointing to several specific Google practices that they say are anti-competitive. One of the biggest ones is how Google prioritizes its own products and services in search results. For example, if you search for, say, restaurants near me, you're almost guaranteed to see Google Maps results at the very top, even if other mapping services might have better options or deals.
Ah, so it's like stacking the deck in your own favor, huh? Giving yourself a home field advantage.
Exactly. And it's not just maps. Think about travel bookings, product comparisons, news articles, in so many areas. Google's own offerings get that, preferential treatment in search, which makes it harder for rivals to even get noticed.
Okay, I see how that could be a problem, but what's the solution? What is the Justice Department actually proposing to do about it?
Well, buckle up, because some of their proposed actions are, well, pretty radical. The one that's getting the most attention is this potential forced sale of Google Chrome.
Wait, hold on. They're saying that Google might actually have to sell Chrome, the browser that, is basically the default for most people. That just seems so extreme.
It is extreme, but the Justice Department's argument is that Chrome is a key tool for maintaining Google's search monopoly. Since Chrome is the most widely used browser globally, Google can basically control what people see when they search online.
So they're saying that by controlling the browser, Google can also control the entire search experience, even if other search engines exist out there.
You got it. And that, according to the Justice Department, is what stifles competition and limits user choice.
I'm starting to see the logic here, but wouldn't forcing Google to sell Chrome be just this massive, massive disruption, like a tech earthquake, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It would be a monumental shift in the tech landscape. We would probably see all these new players emerge in the browser market, which could lead to some really exciting innovations. Like, imagine browsers built with privacy as a core principle, or, browsers that give users much more control over their data and online experience.
Okay, now those are some interesting possibilities. I can definitely see how breaking up Google's control could lead to some cool new developments, but let's not get carried away just yet. I'm always curious about the other side of the coin. What about the potential downsides? Could breaking up Google's products actually end up making things worse for users?
That's a valid concern, for sure.
Hmm.
There's a real risk of fragmentation and, potential loss of convenience. Right now, all of Google's products, they just work together seamlessly. What happens to that integration if Chrome is owned by a different company?
Hmm.
Would syncing data across devices suddenly become a total nightmare?
Right, because, I love how everything just works together right now. Would we really want to sacrifice that convenience for the sake of, just having more competition?
It's a trade-off, that's for sure. And it's not an easy one to figure out.
Mm.
There are also concerns about the impact on just the overall quality of the services. Would Gmail or Google Maps, would they continue to be as good if they weren't part of the Google ecosystem anymore? These are questions that would need to be really carefully considered.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. We've got potential benefits and potential downsides to consider. And this is just talking about Chrome. I can't believe we haven't even gotten to the other bombshell that the Justice Department dropped, that possibility of Google having to sell Android.
Oh yeah, that one almost slipped my mind with all this Chrome drama.
Mhm.
But you're right, we can't overlook the Android piece of this puzzle. That would be an even bigger earthquake than the sale of Chrome, that's for sure.
That's putting it mildly. I mean, Android powers a huge chunk of the world's smartphones, right? It would be a complete shakeup of the whole mobile landscape. But I guess we'll have to save that conversation for part 2 of this deep dive. Stay tuned, everybody.
Welcome back. So are you ready to tackle this truly mind-boggling idea? A potential world without Google at the helm of Android.
I'm honestly still trying to wrap my head around it. I mean, for
Yeah.
so many people, Android just is the smartphone experience, you know? What even happens if that changes?
It's completely uncharted territory. I mean, first off, who would even buy Android? Would we see another like tech giant come in and swoop it up? Maybe, Microsoft or Amazon. Would they be eager to just dominate the mobile space?
Oh, wow. Imagine an Amazon-powered Android. Would Alexa become our new go-to digital assistant?
It's definitely a possibility. Or maybe we'd see a whole consortium of smaller companies, banding together to try and acquire Android. I mean, that would prevent any single entity from getting too much control, right?
Yeah, a tech co-op kind of sharing the responsibility and the potential profits. That's actually a really intriguing thought. But let's talk about, the impact on users. Would we see the whole Android ecosystem splinter with different versions and different app stores popping up everywhere?
Yeah, fragmentation is a real concern for sure. It could create a really confusing mess for users,
Yeah.
you know, making it hard to find apps and making sure everything is compatible across all your devices.
Yeah, that's what worries me. Right now, Android is like this universal language for smartphones, right? If that
Mhm.
gets fractured, it could be a huge headache for developers and users alike.
And then there's the question of, security. I mean, Google invests so much into keeping Android secure. Would a new owner make security a priority in the same way?
Hmm.
Or would we see like a rise in vulnerabilities and data breaches?
Oh, that's a scary thought. I mean, our smartphones hold so much personal information, right? Security can't be something you just think about later. It has to be built in from the start.
Exactly. But it's not all doom and gloom. There's definitely potential for, some positive change too. Maybe a new owner would actually breathe fresh life into Android, focusing on, innovation and user privacy in ways that Google hasn't.
Oh, a privacy-focused Android that actually respects our data. Okay, sign me up for that. But, let's be realistic. Even if Google is forced to sell both Chrome and Android, it's not like it's just going to vanish overnight, right?
Right. These changes, if they happen, would probably take years to fully play out. It's not like we'll wake up tomorrow and suddenly our phones are talking to us in Alexa's voice or something.
Okay, that's a relief. But this whole situation really does make you think about this bigger question, doesn't it? How much power is too much power when it comes to these, tech giants like Google?
For sure. This case really highlights a debate that's been going on for a while. It's all about the balance of power in tech and whether companies like Google have become too dominant. You know what I mean?
So it goes way beyond just Chrome or Android, right? It's about the fundamental structure of the internet itself and who actually gets to, call the shots.
Exactly. The Justice Department's main point is that Google has basically stifled competition, creating an uneven playing field that hurts both rivals and, regular users like us.
Now, you mentioned earlier that, one of their concerns is how Google prioritizes its own products in search results. Could you maybe break that down a little more? How does that actually harm competition?
Sure. So let's say you're a small startup that's created this fantastic new mapping app,
Hmm.
okay? And you're confident that it's better than Google Maps in a lot of ways. But when someone searches for directions, guess what? Google Maps is almost always going to be right there at the top of the search results, simply because Google owns it.
So you're saying that even if your product is genuinely better, it's almost impossible to compete when Google essentially controls the gateway to users.
You got it. It's kind of like trying to open a restaurant right next door to McDonald's and expecting to get the same amount of customers,
Yeah.
Google's just so dominant in search that it gives them this enormous advantage. And the Justice Department is arguing that, well, that's stifling innovation and ultimately limiting user choice.
Okay, that definitely makes sense. But it's not just about search results, right? You also mentioned something about Google using its data collection practices to sort of solidify its dominance.
Right. That's another big part of the Justice Department's case. I mean, Google collects a truly incredible amount of data about our online behavior. It's, our search history, browsing habits, location data, even the things we buy online.
Yeah.
It all gets fed into these powerful Google algorithms.
And I guess that gives them a huge advantage when it comes to things like targeted advertising and, those personalized recommendations that we all see.
Exactly. The more data they have, the better they can tailor their products and services to perfectly match our individual preferences, right? It's this super powerful tool that smaller competitors just can't match. It's not even close.
So, one of the solutions the Justice Department is pushing for is for Google to share its search data and even its search results with rivals.
Yeah.
Can you help us visualize what that would actually look like in the real world?
Well, imagine a world where smaller search engines could actually access Google's massive database of search queries and, user behavior data. They could use all that information to improve their own algorithms, start offering more relevant search results, and maybe even attract a larger user base.
So it would be like, finally leveling the playing field, kind of giving those smaller players a fighting chance to actually compete.
In theory, yeah. But of course, Google has built this incredibly strong brand and, this deeply integrated ecosystem. It's not like people are just going to abandon Google overnight just because there are a few new players in the game.
Right. I mean, brand loyalty and, just plain habit are really powerful forces. But even if it doesn't lead to a complete, like, upheaval of the entire search market, wouldn't forcing Google to share its data at least create, a more diverse and competitive landscape overall?
Oh, it definitely has the potential to. We might see specialized search engines popping up, ones that cater to specific interests or that prioritize user privacy in a way that, Google just doesn't.
Now, that's a really thought-provoking idea. A search engine that's actually built around privacy as a core value. That would be a refreshing change of pace. But let's not get too caught up in hypotheticals. This is all, still being decided in court, right?
Right, exactly. The Justice Department's actions are just the beginning of what's going to be a long and complicated legal battle, that's for sure. And it's important to remember that there are strong arguments on both sides of this, of this whole issue.
Right. It's definitely not some simple black and white situation. There are valid concerns about how much power Google has, but there are also potential risks if we try to break up, such a dominant player.
Yeah, exactly. It's a super nuanced debate with no easy answers. But by understanding the arguments on both sides and all the potential consequences, we can hopefully, contribute to a more informed discussion.
Well said. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from that potential sale of Chrome and Android to this whole broader debate about Google's power and the future of the internet itself. It's been a fascinating exploration, I would say. And I'm really eager to hear your final thoughts as we wrap things up here.
Yeah, I think the key takeaway here is that we're really at this pivotal moment in how the internet evolves. The choices that we make now regarding how we, regulate companies like Google are going to have huge implications for years to come.
It's about way more than just search results or smartphones at this point. It's about, what kind of digital future we actually want to build. But we've given our listener a lot to process here. So let's take a quick break and then come back to, lay out some final thought-provoking questions for them to kind of ponder. Okay, so we're back, and I don't know about you, but I am like, whoa, Google potentially losing Chrome and Android. That is a huge digital shakeup.
It really is. Yeah. Makes you think about how much we depend on, like, just a handful of these tech giants, doesn't it? Yeah. And what would happen if things really changed?
Exactly. So let's try to, bring this home for our listener, What's the big takeaway? Why should anyone outside of Silicon Valley even care about this whole Google thing?
Well, I think it boils down to this. This case really shows us the tension between all the incredible innovation that these tech giants have brought us and the massive power they've, gained along the way.
Yeah, it's like anything else, right? Too much power in the hands of just a few, and that's when you start to see problems. But, I mean, what are the real consequences for us, for everyday users? Is it, just more than a little inconvenience if things change?
Think about it this way. If a company like Google controls how we get information online, through search and the main browser that everyone uses, they also have a lot of influence on, what we see, what we believe, and, how we make decisions. It all kind of connects.
So it's bigger than just, searching for a pizza place. It's about one company maybe shaping how we see the world.
Exactly. And what the Justice Department is saying is that Google is using that power to stop competition.
Yeah.
Which means less innovation and fewer choices for, all of us.
Okay, I see what you mean. But let's say, just for fun, that the Justice Department wins and Google has to sell Chrome and Android. What's your, best case scenario? What kind of digital world are we hoping for?
Well, first, I would want to see companies focusing on user privacy and data security again, really making it a priority. We need companies that see data as something to protect, not something to, exploit for profit.
Yes. 100%. It feels like data privacy has been an afterthought for way too long. What else is on your wish list?
Oh, I would love to see an explosion of creativity and innovation in browsers and, mobile operating systems. Maybe we see browsers that are designed for like specific tasks or interests, or browsers that, really let you customize everything.
Ooh, a browser that actually helps me focus and not get, lost in a million tabs? Sign me up.
And for mobile, imagine operating systems that are like truly open. Your devices could work together perfectly no matter who made them.
Okay, that sounds amazing. But let's be real, even if all those great things happened, it would be a long and probably messy
Oh,
process.
for sure. There would be challenges and unexpected consequences, maybe even some missteps along the way. But that's, often how progress happens.
So for a listener out there trying to, wrap their head around all of this, what's the big question they should be thinking about?
Hmm. I think it's this. What kind of digital future do we want? Do we want a world where a few powerful companies control everything? Or do we want an internet that's more open, more diverse, and more responsive to what users actually need?
Wow, that's a powerful question. And on that note, we'll leave you to think about that. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It's been a wild ride.
Until next time.